evening and welcome to the May 15th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We have a full complement of commissioners tonight. Thank you all for your dedication. As a reminder for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time, so we're not tripping over each other. Also, that all votes are done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, a project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative determination. And for the benefit of anyone waiting tonight for a particular hearing, but so you're not wasting your time, there are 2 hearings that are being continued, 442 Acapesket Road and 110 Ransom Road. After that, that brings us to first order of business, vote minutes. First up, April 24, 2024. Anyone?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/24. Patton.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and multiple seconds to accept the minutes as submitted for 4/24. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept to continue this. I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself. To accept the minutes of 4/24. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye. Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of 4/24. Next up are minutes of May 1st, 2024. Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go on, Steve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of 5/1 as submitted. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept the minutes. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of May 1st. Next up are minutes of May 6th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 6th. Patton.
Bird, second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of 5/6 as submitted. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept the minutes as submitted. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of May 6th. Thank you, Kristen. Next up, request for a continuance for determination of applicability. First request is 63 Santuit LLC, 63 Santuit Road, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to lift an existing house in order to raise, R-A-I-S-E, the height of the foundation. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant has requested a continuance until May 22nd.
Bird, so move. Second.
Driscoll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this request until 5/22. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy? Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this request until 5/22. Next continuance request, Seascape Association, Inc., 0 Waterside Drive, A Beach, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management and maintain existing vegetation. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant has requested a continuance until June 12th.
So move.
Driscoll second.
thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue this request until 6/12. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this request until 6/12. Next up are requests for continuance under notice of intent. First up, John and Kerry Kober, 442 Ecopesket Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a detached garage and pool. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until June 5th.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
O'Brien,
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this request until 6/5. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this hearing until 6/5. Next request for a continuance, Ciari Huberu, trustee, Huberu Trust, 110 Ransom Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
I'm gonna kick this one over to Alyssa. Alyssa, when is this continued to? I don't have that in my packet.
The applicant has requested a continuance until June 5th.
Okay, thank you.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll
O'Brien,
second.
There you go.
Technical question. This is a continued hearing, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
So only the people who were on the quorum should vote the continuance or not?
No,
you
it's
can
only a-
vote.
Okay,
That's an administrative order, if you will.
okay,
So-
just curious.
Is that gonna give them enough time, Jen?
They say it
Oh,
will
let's
give them enough time.
Okay, because this has been continued multiple times, so
Correct,
it's time to
correct.
move forward. Excellent.
And
All right.
I do know, just for the record, Mr. Chairman, that Cape and Islands did reach out to the attorney that sent the letter today.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what should happen,
Yeah.
you know, or they should get together. All right, thank you for that. All right, the motion and the second on the table is to continue this hearing until June 5th. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawkeye,
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 5th. All right. That brings us to requests for determination of applicability. Christopher and Jennifer Lemley, trustees, 96 Chappaquay Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove invasive vines and deadwood from a stand of cedars. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird so move.
Gladfelter, second.
guys
Gotta
are
be a
slow
little
tonight.
quicker, Kevin.
All right, get ready with that hot button. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawkeye,
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Barbara Rocket, 180 Mill Road, Unit Number 1, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing deck. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Bird so move.
Carlo Hawk second,
we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawkeye,
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Carol Earhart, 180 Mill Road, Unit 3, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing deck. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this RDA is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Bird so move.
Carlo
Patton,
Hawkeye
second.
second,
ooh, competition. I like it. We have a motion and a couple of seconds to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawkeye,
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Rivers Edge Association, Inc., 48 Rivers Edge Road and 0 Rivers Edge Road. Map and parcel ID is 29-07-013A-000, East Falmouth, Mass, for after-the-fact permission to reconstruct 2 sets of licensed floats and ramps and redeck 2 piers. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird so move.
Patton, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawkeye,
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Sean Segru, 3 Creighton Park, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct and enlarge an existing deck, construct a new second floor deck, and for after-the-fact permission to upgrade an existing sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a +2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed. This project is solely located in an AE flood zone, and I can elaborate.
please.
So staff's concerns simply lie with the enlargement of the deck. Typically, we see a survey presented to us to show exactly where the increased square footage will be located on site. In this case, it is proposed that the deck will slightly enlarge over the existing lawn space and enlarge over existing hardscape. The homeowner is here tonight to speak with the board and ask to proceed with the permit application without a site plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to promote the property owner, Kristen Sorge.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I think I got somebody else. I'm promoting Sean Sorge. Okay.
Thank you.
Sean, you need to turn on your audio and your video. I've promoted you up to a panelist so you can address the board.
Unmute, can you hear me now?
Yes,
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Yeah, I think it's my camera. Is that okay? If you
Is
could
your,
just hear me?
We can see something going on back there, but
is your
Yeah, I
camera,
had this problem. Sorry
your-
about that.
is your lens cover on?
No. No.
That's been a problem for me a few times.
All right, can we
Yeah.
move forward?
Yeah, so the question is, we have a surveyor in process. He's going to come and survey the property. When the new septic system was first put in place, the septic guy who installed it said that he did everything he was supposed to do, but apparently he didn't get a site survey when he did it. So based on the fact that the footprint is pretty close to exactly where everything is right now, we were hoping to move on, even though we're still going to do the site survey.
So how did you do a septic system without a plan?
We didn't own the property at the time. It was we were in the process of purchasing it.
You engaged the guy to do the septic system?
No, we didn't hire him. So whoever Paul Benoit, the guy who owned the house, his kids hired the septic guy.
And did they do it without a plan?
Based on
Hold on. Go on.
somebody want to chime in?
No,
Based
continue.
on what Alyssa saw, she said that the plan wasn't passed through the Conservation Committee. Is that correct?
All right, hold that thought. Alyssa, you had your hand up first.
Thank you. The plan was completed by a sanitarian strictly for the health department. The flood zone information was missing on the plan. That's what never came to us. So there is a
Okay.
plan of sorts. It's not from a surveyor, and there are aspects that are incorrect or missing.
It's not adequate. Jen?
Nope, I was going to say exactly what Alyssa said.
Okay. Courtney?
So what is on file with the health agent? Is there an as-built that shows offsets from the house?
I'm not
That's
sure
not
if
what
it's
we're
in,
after anyway. We're trying to find out how this new deck work is going to affect coverage. What I was asking about the septic work is because that would mean a site plan should have already been done, and now they could elaborate with it. But it sounds like that wasn't done, or at least not correctly. Anybody else? All right, I agree. I think a site plan should be required.
All right, so do I.
All right, so
So
recommendation-
can I ask a
please don't
question?
interrupt me.
Oh, sorry.
Well, if I
My
could
bad.
see you, I'd be able to see your hand raised. Go ahead, one more time.
I don't know the protocol. I'm sorry. I'm not used to it. So we were hoping that the builder could start, even though, and we could tell you that the site plan was in process. Because it's gonna hold things up.
Okay. Anything else from the board? All
No.
right, so the recommendation on the table is for a +2 under the state and the bylaw. Is that correct, Alyssa? Okay, so if we vote for the positive, then he could come back with an RDA if he had the plan, correct? Or does this kick him up to a notice?
I think one option would be to, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, vote the positive. You could, in terms, deny this permit application and wait until a survey was acquired and they could refile. Or the board could vote to continue it out a ways and wait for a survey to come in.
Same result. Maury?
You're on mute, Maury.
Sorry. To get a building permit, you need a plot plan. You have to have so it's the inevitable. You need the plot plan for anything you do. So I think maybe pushing it out until he can get that instead of a positive, maybe just continue it. I don't know, but you need a plot plan.
Jen?
We're just,
I don't believe building has signed off from a I think a code aspect, but not the zoning aspect. So building
Right.
is still looking for a survey. And they
Right.
will not
Right.
accept one from the sanitarian.
I'm going to make a motion to accept staff's recommendation of a positive determination.
Carlo Hawk second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to accept staff's recommendation. Any other questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, no.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, I.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
All right, it is 6-1. The motion passes. We have accepted staff's recommendation of a positive determination. Thank you, Mr. Segro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Darrell Tew, 346 Walker Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing deck. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, I.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up has been previously continued, brings us to Woods Hole Partners LLC, 533 Woods Hole Road, Woods Hole, Mass, for permission to modify an existing driveway access and extend a paved sidewalk. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll, second.
We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, I.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Stephen P. Bowen, 24 Boston Street, Falmouth, Mass, for after-the-fact permission to install hardscape, including a bluestone patio, pavers, and a new driveway configuration. Ms. Bergeron?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Thank you.
Carlo Hawk, so moved.
Driscoll second.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion in multiple seconds to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
Batten, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, William and Elizabeth Scannell, 314 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to conduct minor renovations to both buildings on the property, including new roofing and siding, removal of a bulkhead, removal of a portion of the structure, and removal of a fence enclosure. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
Batten, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Joseph Brozzi, 286 Minot Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Steve.
Batten, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Robert Lottis, 35 Peyton Place, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a second boat lift. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? Maury.
It was shame on me on the 24th of April. I didn't realize that they were already asking for a hydro hoist lift. This is 2 boat lifts on one dock. My concern is that it's going to turn into a 4-boat dock. And there's not a lot of water depth there, which I'm sure that's why they want the hydro hoist. But we've, in the past, anything that's adding to, I don't know if this is in a V zone, but now we've got more, mechanicals, electricals, everything else. We've fought not to have these being added to docks. And again, shame on me on the 24th. I did not read the staff report as close as I should have, I thought it was just for piling replacement and not adding a hydro hoist. And now we want 2 boat lifts on one dock. And I'm afraid that with the shellfish there and everything else, it's going to become 4 boats, 2 stuck in the mud, 2 on lifts, and still no improvement to the environment because they never have come in front of us to try and extend the dock out of the mud. And that's just my concern. And I'm not approving this. Thank you.
Jen, we can't condition this, right?
No, you can, and it is in a V zone more.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. We're voting on whether to accept it or not. Betsy,
No. Gladfelter, no.
Courtney,
Bird, no.
Matthews, no. Kevin,
O'Brien, no.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, no.
Ron,
Driscoll, no.
Steve.
Pat, no.
It is unanimous. We have voted negative. How do you say that? Negative on a negative. So the motion does not pass.
Too late.
All right, next up, Karen Ross, 69 Governor Bradford Lane, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to enlarge an existing deck. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks, second.
we have a motion and a second on the table to accept staff recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat, and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, continued request for determination of applicability. First up, Eileen Meany, 30 Marshview Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to repair the existing deck, platform, and railings, and to reconstruct the stairs in accordance with the state building code. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant has requested a continuance until May 22nd. We received a revised plan today and just need time to visit the site.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawks, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second on the table to continue this until 5/22. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat, and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 5/22.
Excuse me, Jamie.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a request from Mike Borselli to reopen the hearing on Peyton Place. I didn't see his hand raised in time when you all voted no, and I think it caught him off guard. He wanted a chance to speak.
Not gonna change.
All right, we'll come back to it in a minute.
Okay.
We have one more RDA. The next RDA has already been continued. Brings us to the last RDA. Garfield Arthur Jr., 0 Brick Hill Road, Lot 2, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to regrade the property and to construct a crushed stone driveway. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource areas are not confirmed.
Driscoll, so moved.
Pat, and second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat, and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. All right, Jen, what's the protocol for?
I know we've never done it, but I think just because given the chance he wasn't allowed to speak, I would just reopen it.
Well, we didn't deny him the chance to speak. All right, so where am I here? Okay, so everybody clear on 35. Sorry, 35 Peyton Place. We're being asked to reopen the request so we can take comment on it. So I think what I need is a motion and a second to reopen it. And then,
Bird, so move, but do we have discussion?
Second to O'Brien, again, seconding the discussion.
hold on.
Yeah,
All right, so Just trying to keep track of it because it's already. All right, Courtney, something before we vote on opening it?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Comment
it's
on
very
it until
clear.
we open it.
Our consideration was that
Courtney,
we're not,
stop.
we're denying it,
Courtney.
but if the guy wants to file a notice of intent and come in front of us and sell it to us that
Stop,
way.
please.
Courtney,
Courtney,
we need to just reopen the hearing and then you can have discussion, okay?
All right, I'm opposed to wasting time.
I understand that.
Agreed, but we still have a protocol, so. All right, so we're voting to reconsider
Correct.
35 Peyton Place. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, no.
Courtney, you're only voting to reopen the
Courtney,
discussion.
it's to reopen the discussion. This is what you wanted.
I'm not interested in reopening it. That's why I'm voting no.
All right,
We made our
Matthews,
decision.
aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Carlo Hawks eye.
Driscoll, aye. I didn't hear you.
Patton, aye.
sorry. Thank you. All right. So we have one no, but we're reopening the discussion. Not sure what we're gonna get out of it, but here we go. So, Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Mike Borselli up so he can address the board.
Mr. Borselli, good
Thank you.
evening.
I'll be very brief. This is not typical protocol, but I was not able to raise my hand or even say anything, so I didn't get an opportunity to speak because your staff recommended a negative that was seconded. And then there was discussion by one board member without my ability to rebut that might have persuaded members either way. So if your mind's made up, your mind's made up. But I just wanted to clarify a couple things. The previous boat lift was approved just so the boat can be lifted out of the water further from the substrate. The other boat lift is only for a Boston whaler. It's a very low profile, small, seasonal structure that also just allows the boat to be lifted out of the water. They would prefer the boats not to be in the water because they get mucked up. That's all it is. There's no, the dock is licensed. This just facilitates better care and maintenance. There's no pilings proposed with this new lift. It's a temporary seasonal lift. So I just wanted to make sure you weren't making a decision without all the facts. If your decision is based on fact-based and you believe there's an impact to wetlands, I don't believe there is, because you're gonna increase the distance from the substrate. You don't like shading of the bottom. The boat lift will allow the boat to be elevated above and not shade the bottom. But I'm not gonna convince you if your mind's made up, but I just wanted a chance to speak so I could at least advise my client I tried to persuade you.
No, we appreciate that. I think the concern is that it now gives you the ability to add more boats to this dock.
Well, it doesn't. That's not true, because the dock is the dock. The boat is going to tie in those positions either way. The lift doesn't let you tie more boats to the dock. If you refer to the plan, you will see that it's an L, there'll be a boat on one side of the L and a boat on the other side of the L, with or without a lift. You have allowed him to put a lift on one side of the L. This would just allow a boat to tie up along the dock, but be lifted out of the water. That's all it is. And I'm, just wanted to make sure you were clear on that. I respect your decisions. I understand if you're concerned, but I didn't think you had the facts.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so questions or comments from the board? So, I'm not sure what the proper protocol is, so I'm just going to ask, do we want to take a new vote, or do we want to vote to revote? This is new on me. What do we want? I mean, do we vote to let it stand the way we voted? You know what I mean?
I think, Mr. Chairman, the cleanest way to do it is just take a revote, and if the board wants to let their decision stand, then you still vote no.
Is everybody clear on that?
Yeah, that's clear to
So
me.
I'm gonna ask you again to vote on the, again, it was a negative recommendation.
Correct.
So we're basically just gonna vote time. So if that's clear with everybody, that's what we're gonna do. So I think I'm gonna need a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation.
Bird, so move.
Carla Hawk second.
Okay. Again, just for clarity,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to make it more than it is. I just want to make sure it's clear. So we have a motion and a second on the table to accept staff's recommendation, which is a -2 under the state and the bylaw. All right. So again, we're voting. Betsy,
Wetfelter, no.
Courtney,
Bird, no.
Matthews, no. Kevin,
O'Brien, no.
Maury,
Carla Hawks, no.
Ron,
Driscoll, no.
Steve.
Benton, no.
All right. The motion does not pass. Sorry, Mike, but thank
That's
you for
okay.
your
I
input.
appreciate your time, and sorry for the disruption. I just wanted to make it clear.
Nope.
Have a good.
We
have a
appreciate
good
it as well.
Thank you.
All right. That's the longest we've ever spent on RDAs. Wow. All right. Next up are requests for hearing under notice of intent. Everybody want to take a breath and we're going to move forward. All right. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. Please know that all correspondence received by the Conservation Department is forwarded to all commissioners and becomes part of the record. We will not read each and every letter we receive at a hearing. Remember, our jurisdiction is that of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. With that said, first up, Town of Falmouth Marine Environmental Services Department, Eel River Estuary, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct continued aquaculture at 3 previously approved sites. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting myself up to present MES's project for them. Fortunately, one member of MES is sick and the other is traveling. So basically what this is to re-permit 3 aquaculture sites in Eel River. This board issued them the town a permit a little over 3 years ago for 3 town-owned aquaculture sites that are then leased to private growers. It's kind of a public-private partnership. And so, unfortunately, MES thought that their permit was 5 years like all of their other permits. And so basically they just missed the extension window. This is particularly important as one of the private growers is currently in negotiations to distribute product at a fairly large grocery store. And this particular store is looking for all the permits. We do need to continue it because there is we do not have a DEP number yet. And so if the board has any questions, they can do that. I'm sorry, I'm going to share my screen real quick to show the board where these sites are, and it might be familiar to you then. This is Site A, Site B, and Site C. They're all tucked into Washburn Island. And they have been successful aquaculture sites since the board approved this project 3 years ago. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. And if the board has any questions about this, I can make sure that a representative from MES is here next week or the week after. I did put a email into DEP inquiring about that DEP number for them.
Okay. All right. Commissioner comments or questions, Betsy?
I'm ready to continue this to next week.
All right,
I'll
Courtney?
have second.
Me too.
All right, wait. All right. Anybody want to comment then? All right, so we have a motion and a second to continue this until the next week, 5/22?
5/22.
Okay. All right. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, I.
Maury?
Carla Hawk's eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
All right, we've continued, it's unanimous, we've continued this till 5/22.
Thank you.
All right. Next hearing has been previously continued, brings us to, please listen up to this. Mike LaCava, Repurposed Properties LLC, 0 Betts Way, Lot 1, map and parcel 32-03-002-001, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to clear the Zone B to a coastal bank. Now, there's going to be 4 of these, so you know, there's a lot of familiarity, but there's 1 or 2 that will be a little bit different. So, Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Greg Morse from Morse Engineering to present the first of 4 projects over on the newly created Betts Way. Hello, Mr. Morse, how are you?
Good evening, doing well, thank you. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property applicant Mike LaCava and Repurposed Properties. This is the first of 4 notice of intents that you're going to hear tonight for construction of single-family homes on lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 Betts Way. I can keep it to just a brief statement about the lot, or I can do a share screen and show the plan if the board prefers. Leave it to you.
You should share your screen, at least for this one.
Will do. Let me put it up
And maybe
here.
all of them, but thanks.
You should see on the screen here an overall of the Betts Way subdivision.
Yes.
Off on the right-hand side of the screen here is the main road, which is 187 Central Ave. Betts Way is a new cul-de-sac road that's going to be coming in. It has not yet been constructed. It has been fully approved at this point by the planning board. This new cul-de-sac provides access to 4 new house lots. Where my cursor is lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, and lot 4. I'm now going to go to the lot 1 site plan that was submitted. So this is lot 1 that you see on the screen here. Lot 1 itself is 69,500 square feet in size. Approximately 52,000 square feet of that is upland area. Starting at the back of the lot along the western property boundary, we border Bourne's Pond. And off of Bourne's Pond, highlighted in blue here, we have a salt marsh and then a fringe bordering vegetated wetland. As we come up gradient, there's a coastal bank, which was delineated in accordance with the DEP policy 92-1. And then as we come a little further up gradient, There's a FEMA floodplain here at elevation 12. It's located there. It's a FEMA AE, land subject to coastal storm flowage. Off of those resource areas we've highlighted on the plans in black here, this is the 50-foot setback known as your zone A to the coastal bank, and in green, the 100-foot coastal bank setback known as your zone B. The proposal here is to construct a new single-family home. The new single-family home has a garage within its footprint, a new driveway to Betts Lane, a new septic system, which is an advanced treatment type of system. I would add that the septic systems on this lot and all of the lots tonight have already been approved by the Board of Health. The work that is proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone, again, the 100-foot buffer zone being this green line on lot 4, we're proposing 2 precast dry wells to handle roof runoff. So this is clean roof runoff that we're proposing to infiltrate in those 2 dry wells. We're also proposing a limit of work along the back here. That limit of work is 52 feet away at its closest point from the top of coastal bank. It respects the 50-foot do not disturb zone, the zone A. We've proposed an erosion control barrier around the limit of work. The erosion control barrier goes around the limit of clearing and encompasses all 4 sites that you will see tonight. There's no alteration within the FEMA flood zone on this property. There's no alteration of the coastal bank. Respects the 50-foot buffer and provides erosion control. The structure is outside the 100, as is the septic system and driveway. DEP did issue a file number on this one. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Mr. Morse, can you stop sharing, please?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that we would recommend is surveying all the trees with a DBH greater than 3 inches within 10 feet of that limit of work, just so we have the location of the trees for future development. Now, once the houses are built, we understand that they're not touching the buffer, but we all know what happens once these houses are built. So it would be nice to know where some of the larger trees in the immediate vicinity of the no disturbance zone is.
So within 10 feet of the limit of work, you said?
Yeah, within 10 feet of the limit of work.
Okay. And 3 inches or greater. Okay.
Yeah, it's keeping with DEP's new guidance on tree, like how you identify a tree and their new bordering vegetated wetland handbook. And we have done this in the past. The one I can think about is that on Moonpenny.
Moonpenny, yeah. Okay. All right. You're good?
Yep, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Alyssa?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Betsy?
Yeah, I have a comment. This is your company, or the company you're working for, Greg, is called Repurposed, but this land actually has a purpose. It's a vegetated area, and Falmouth just passed a resolution that we're rights to nature. So I have a request, and that is, instead of clear cutting zone B, you plan to save some of the large trees that are there, because they make a substantially more impact in, picking up nutrients, picking up water, storing carbon, etc. So and that's my comment for all of your, where you want to just clear cut.
Okay.
Thanks.
All
That's
right.
all.
Thank you. Courtney?
I would second Betsy's comments and go a little step further. Understory, I mean, are we going to clear cut the understory?
So the intent here was to show kind of what we see as the maximum amount of disturbance on this site. We certainly could preserve any of the large trees that are within that area to an extent. You'll notice that in the Zone B, we didn't propose bringing in any significant fill in that area. We're working with the existing ground contours that are out there. The intent was to take out any understory that's down there and install lawn in that area. We certainly would be amenable to, working around some of the larger trees. It is essentially it's large or tall pine forest in that location. So we could certainly leave a couple of those in that buffer and work around those. But it was the intent to remove a significant portion of the understory to create lawn, up to that buffer zone.
Anything else, Courtney?
No, I don't have anything else. I'm not totally happy with that, but that's all my comment.
All right. Kevin?
Sort of seconding Courtney, but I'm fine. Thank you.
Maury?
I ditto Betsy, and also it was nice to see proactive on this plan for putting the nitros in and getting ahead of the curve with DEP. And those are the best so far that they've found. And they're also very expensive. And I'm glad to see that they're making that effort and putting it on a plan, and we didn't even have to ask for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the applicant exactly was proactive in providing that, which is a significantly, it's a nitrogen reducing system, and it works very well. Also, this subdivision had already been reviewed with respect to all stormwater aspects by DPW and Planning Board when the subdivision was approved, but the applicant has again gone above and beyond in proposing the infiltration dry wells as well. We showed the limit of work where we did on these lots because we had reached out to the conservation department, prior to this submittal, and we were told it was a 50-foot no disturb zone, which again, we respect on all of the lots. We're certainly willing to work around some existing mature trees if that's the case. I don't know if that's something that could be a condition or discussed further at a pre-construction meeting potentially. But we're certainly willing to do that. We brought the limit of work to what we were told was the limit of work in the town of Falmouth, which was 50 feet.
Thank you.
Maury, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. And the nitro is the good one.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Ron?
Yeah, I also applauded voluntary nitro, and other than that, no comments, questions.
All right. Steve?
Thank you, and I appreciated all the construction being out of the zones. No other comments.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Stay with us, Greg, but thank you. All right. Next up, Mike LaCava, Repurpose Properties LLC, 0 Betts Way. This is lot 2, map and parcel 32-03- excuse me, 002-002, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a single-family dwelling on an undeveloped lot with associated grading and clearing. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morris is still here from Morris Engineering to present lot 2.
Excellent.
Thank you again, Gregory Morse, registered engineer representing Mike LaCava and Repurpose Properties. This is lot 2 of the Betts Way subdivision. I'll do a share screen and show the lot 2 plan. Okay. This here is lots 2. Betts Way cul-de-sac is at the top right-hand page of the page. Off on the left-hand side of the page is Bourne's Pond. And as you come up gradient onto the lot in blue, again, at the fringe of the pond is a salt marsh and a bordering vegetated wetland. As you come a little further up gradient, highlighted in blue represents the top of a coastal bank, which was delineated in accordance with policy 92-1 of the DEP. And then as you come a little further up, highlighted is the FEMA zone AE at elevation 12, being classified as land subject to coastal storm flowage. Zooming in, you would see that the 50-foot zone A setback is in black and the 100-foot zone B is in green. This site here, we're again proposing a single family home with a garage with driveway and utilities out to Betts Lane. The septic system again is a nitro septic system. The septic system is entirely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. What is inside the buffer zone is a portion of the house, a very small portion of the driveway, approximately 50 square feet. Grading around the house. We have a deck along the back of the building. We have 2 dry wells to promote infiltration of roof runoff and a limit of work. That limit of work is right here where my cursor is. That limit of work has an erosion control barrier along it. You'll see that the limit of work is right along the 50-foot buffer zone at the corner of the garage and the corner of the building here. But you'll see that that limit of work comes further up gradient in that we are preserving, a portion of that zone A to zone B between the 50 and 100 in here. We are not proposing clearing in this site here. DEP again has issued a file number on this site. There is no alteration of any resource area on this site proposed. The septic system has been approved by the Board of Health. I'll turn it over to you for questions or comments. I'll stop the share screening.
Thank you. Jen,
Mr. Morris, was that the revised plan shifting that limit of work so it's 10 feet from the corner of that house?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. The only other comment I have, Mr. Chairman, is again, within 10 feet of the limit of work, have the trees surveyed for future. So we just know where they are. So in the future, if they're removed, we knew it once they were there.
Alyssa.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Courtney.
So you're not contemplating any clearing or cutting or activity in the area beyond the limit of work going toward the marsh?
That's correct. No work.
And that's true of all your properties.
Yes.
And within the limit of work, you're only clearing what is necessary in terms of trees to actually construct the house.
So, but behind the house, we're proposing lawn up to the limit of work.
But are there trees there that can be preserved?
We can certainly identify some trees to be preserved within that area, but we do want to establish a lawn behind the house.
I want to see that on the plan. No other questions.
All right. So Jen, that's going to come up. We're going to have to clarify how we want to that can work. If we want to condition that, or it's going to come up, right?
I mean, you can condition submitting the revised plans prior to us signing off on building permits that show the locations of the trees to be removed in the B buffer and the 10-foot swath of trees in the A buffer.
Yeah, but at that point, the hearing's closed. We can't. I'm just trying to think how this is going to be documented. Okay. I'm just thinking out loud right now, I guess.
No, I understand. And going forward, Betsy will keep the rights of nature in mind. When I had the discussion with the developer, several weeks ago, I think it was before the resolution was passed in the town.
It was, yeah.
So that's why the guidance that was given to the developer and to Morse Engineering was your no disturbance zone A.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, how we do this now, Mr. Chairman, I mean, if you want them to go back and survey the trees in the B buffer and see which ones they can keep and put it on a plan, that's absolutely up to you. It might be the cleanest way.
I'm not saying, I don't know, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying we should continue it or anything like that. I'm just, we're asking if they would preserve some trees in the B zone. And Mr. Morris is indicating that they're willing to do that, but to what degree? And then what should we expect? You know what I mean? So again, just kind of thinking out loud. I'll give it some more thought and then I'll.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, we could do it a couple of different ways. We can condition it and they can work with the staff and we can, try to save what we can out there when they finally decide on house designs. As Mr. Moore said, these are the largest footprints. They may be adjusted, so that may give staff room in the field to save, some large trees in that B buffer.
Yeah, I mean, some of that on the developer's end would want to be decided once at least the foundations are in, so you can see what would affect the
Right.
house,
That's
as
what we
opposed to
have
us
do.
looking at a plan and seeing a bunch of trees laid out and say, I like that 20-inch oak, but the 20-inch oak is in the middle of the kitchen, so that's not fair to say we're going to save it. So
Yep.
I just want to be clear, so that we're not expecting too much and we're not restricting too much. So
And I
again,
understand, and like we can do that in the field, Mr. Chairman, when the foundation goes in, we can see, what trees are gonna be overhanging and all of that. It's gonna have to be done in the field.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Commissioner comments. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Maury.
No comments, thank you.
Okay. Ron.
No comment.
Steve.
No comments.
Okay. Betsy.
I have two comments. One is I'm completely confident in staff working with the developer in what's most appropriate to save out there. And the second is, Mr. Morse, you said there was going to be no changing of topography. And this one has a fair amount of change. And so I'd like to know how much fill you're going to bring into this site.
Yeah, on the last lot, there was no change in topography in that 100-foot buffer.
Oh, I thought you
On
meant
this
all
lot-
the lots.
Sorry, on this lot, you'll see that the grading inside the 100-foot buffer is limited to just the north side of the garage, where we're sloping down from the driveway to the back of the garage. A rough quantity of what's being brought into the 100-foot buffer at that location would be about 100 yards of material.
Okay, thanks. Usually we ask for cut and fill calcs.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
You good?
Mhm.
Okay. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this comment, Mr. Chairman.
So I'd like to make a
Alright.
motion. Sorry,
Go
Jamie,
ahead. It's all
to
right,
close
go
the
ahead.
hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carl Hawks eye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve. Steve.
Pat and I.
Thank you. It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Morse. Bear with me. All right, next up. This might sound familiar. Mike LaCava, Repurposed Properties LLC, 0 Betts Way. This is lot number 3, map and parcel 32-03-002-003, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to clear and conduct minor grading within flood zone AE. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, again, Gregory Morse, Morse Engineering, presenting his project. This will be lot 3.
Thank you, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. I'm going to do a share screen here of lot 3, Betts Way.
Yes.
So looking at the screen here, off on the left-hand side is Bourne's Pond. Up in the top right corner of the lot is the Betts Way cul-de-sac. Off of Bourne Pond, again, we have a small bordering vegetated wetland in a salt marsh along the fringe. As you come up gradient, there's a coastal bank. As you come a little further up gradient, up here is FEMA zone AE 12, which is land subject to coastal storm flowage. You'll notice that in this case here, with respect to the 50 and the 100-foot zone A and zone B for the coastal bank, they are down here, which is kind of a access handle, if you will, although we're not proposing any access from the backyard out to Bourne's Pond. We're not proposing any work whatsoever within the 100-foot zone B to the coastal bank. As you look at where we are proposing the house, which is further up gradient from that coastal bank, the house is located right here with the driveway up to the cul-de-sac on Betts Way. The septic system's located in the front yard. All utilities are to the front of the house. Off the back of the house, we're proposing a deck. We're also proposing 2 precast dry wells to handle clean roof runoff and promote infiltration. Our limit of work and our limit of clearing is right here where I show it with the cursor. We have an erosion control barrier at that limit of work as well. This line, this contour here is the elevation 12, the land subject to coastal storm flowage. You'll notice that we're not proposing any fill or any change in topography within that land subject to coastal storm flowage line. We are proposing to clear the vegetation and reestablish that area as lawn, but no structures are proposed, nor is any fill within that zone. DEP issued a file number on this. I'm going to turn it over to you for questions or comments. Board of Health has approved the septic system. Thank you.
Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no comments at this time.
Okay. All right. Ms. Bergeron.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Greg, I think you said it, but all 4 of these have a nitro system, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, you said that. Okay. Thank you. And in case I forget to say it, I just want to say it's a great presentation, clear and concise. The plans and staking are very, very clear, so that's helpful. Thank you for that. All right, Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Maury.
No questions, thank you.
Ron.
No questions or comments, thank you.
All right, Steve.
No questions, thank you.
All right, Betsy. Betsy.
I'll echo Jamie's comments. It's nice presentation and nice preparation. And also just ask you not to forget any trees that you could save. Just put it in the record for this one.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Courtney.
I'll echo Betsy. No other comments.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Driscoll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? We're voting to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. All right. Next up, again, this is going to be a little bit familiar. Mike LaCava, Repurposed Properties LLC, 0 Betts Way, lot number 4. Map and parcel ID is 32-03-002-004. Falmouth, Mass. For permission to clear, grade, and construct a portion of a new single-family dwelling within flood zone AE. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Gregory Morse from Morse Engineering here to present the last of the Betts Way properties tonight.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Again, Gregory Morse representing Mike LaCava. This is lot 4 Betts Way. I will do a share screen of lot 4. Okay, looking at lot 4 here, we have Betts Way at the top left corner of the plan page. At the bottom down here off Locust is the bordering vegetated wetland in the salt marsh associated with Bourne's Pond. As you come up onto the Locust, there's a very small coastal bank that was delineated in accordance with the policy. And as you come further up onto Locust, right here, we have land subject to coastal storm flowage, which again is a FEMA zone in AE 12. You'll notice in this case here, off of the top of Coastal Bank, the 50-foot Zone A buffer is this line in black. We're not proposing any work inside that 50-foot. The 100-foot Zone B buffer is shown in green. We're not proposing any work within the Zone B buffer either. The work that we are proposing that's up gradient is the single-family home, which has an attached garage to it, a driveway to the Betts Way cul-de-sac. The septic system, again, is a nitro septic system approved by the Board of Health already. Behind the house, we have a deck off the back. We have 2 precast dry wells to handle roof runoff. And we're proposing a limit of clearing along here. You'll again notice that that limit of clearing does not go into that 100-foot Zone B buffer. At the limit of clearing, we have an erosion control barrier noted, which would encompass the limit of work. A portion of this house is located in the FEMA zone AE 12. This colored contour right here represents the elevation 12, so that you'll see, a portion of the garage is at elevation 19.2, and it is a slab on grade. This corner of the foundation of the house is also located in the floodplain. We've proposed the slab of the building at elevation 13.1, so it provides more than the foot of freeboard required by the regulations for construction in the AE zone. We also have a note on the plan here that this corner of the building would only be approved as a crawl space until the Zoning Board of Appeals approves a special permit to allow a basement to be constructed in that location. The applicant has filed for that special permit. Unfortunately, it's not on the Zoning Board's agenda until late June. Quantifying the fill that's being placed in the floodplain adjacent to the garage here, as you come around the back of the garage and the side of the garage, it represents approximately 300 cubic feet of fill that gets placed. It's entirely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but it is in that land subject to coastal storm flowage area. We don't feel that it would negatively alter the drainage patterns on this site or divert floodwaters to adjacent properties, as they have similar topography as well. DEP did issue a file number for this, and I'll turn it over for your questions or comments.
Thank you.
And I apologize if I misspoke, the volume of fill, it's 300 cubic yards. I may have said feet, 300 cubic yards.
All right, Jen,
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
okay, Alyssa,
No comments. Thank you.
all right. Commissioner comments or questions? Maury,
I just had one question for Greg. On that slope where you're changing the topography, do you have any concerns of runoff, or is there gonna be a small retaining wall there or some kind of stabilization?
So we have that graded at a 3-to-1 slope, and we're calling for it to be a turf grass on that.
Okay,
So
yep,
should be stabilized.
okay, thank you.
Ron,
No questions or comments. Thank you.
all right, Steve,
No questions, thank you.
all right, Betsy,
Just comment about, just to put it in this hearing, to save as many trees as you can, mature trees. And thanks for the cut and fill calcs.
Thank you.
Courtney,
No comments.
all right, Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll make a motion so Mr. Morse can go home or go watch the Celtics or whatever he wants to do. So I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And I,
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you. It was a pleasure coming before the board.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Is this your first time?
We've done several projects in Falmouth. It's not often that we're down there, but I think we have a couple more notice of intents in your office at the time.
I
Yeah.
don't remember, but you can come back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good night, Mr. Morris.
Oh, boy. All right, next up, continued requests for hearing under notice of intent. The first one has already been continued again. Brings us to Thomas Cooney, Cape Cod Condominium Trust, 28 Cape Cod Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct vegetation management. And for the record, the quorum excludes Kevin, Ron, and Steve. Jen,
I thought you opened this before.
A couple of times, I think.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, did you call on me?
yes.
Oh,
you're
I'm
up.
sorry. I have promoted Brian Wall up to present the project. Good evening,
All
Brian.
right.
Good evening, Jen. How are you?
I am good.
Good.
Mr. Wall, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Brian Wall, attorney in Sandwich, and I am here tonight representing the Cape Cod condominium, as well as 17 individual unit owners. With me in my office is certified arborist Paul Sellers, who will come on after I finish. He's just seated to my right. Also with me are two of my clients, Tom Cooney and Mr. Chris Smallus. Tom Bunker should be joining us by Zoom in case there's any questions regarding the site plan. But I'll proceed. So this is an application for an order of conditions seeking approval for a proposed vegetative management plan to manage the trees that are located on a berm, which is to the west of the building at 28 Cape Cod Road. We fully presented this application to the commission at its March 6th hearing. And at that time, there appeared to be a consensus that some management of the trees would in fact be appropriate. However, there was a difference between what the staff was supporting in the staff report that was submitted prior to that hearing and what the applicant was proposing. Because of this difference and because of the level of detail, we're talking more than 115 trees on the berm. There was a request for a continuance, and there was a suggestion that the applicant work closely with staff to try to work towards a mutually agreeable solution. And we did in fact meet with staff at the Conservation Office at Town Hall on April 9th to review the plan. And the primary purpose of that meeting was to make sure that the information was accurate and to make sure that the information was consistent both between the applicant and what the Conservation Commission had. And again, there's a lot of different colors and a lot of different trees shown on the plan. After that meeting, we met on the site on April 26th. It was a lengthy meeting. All of your staff was there. Mr. Sellers and I were there, and my clients were there. And we walked the berm and we looked at tree by tree, and we had a conversation about a lot of them, if not all of them. And as a result of those conversations, the staff position modulated a bit, and the difference between what the applicant was proposing and what staff could support was narrowed quite a bit. There were agreements by both parties. Staff agreed on some instances to allow trees to be trimmed or pruned or removed that previously they did not support in their report. And similarly, the applicant also agreed to certain trees not being removed that they had proposed and not being pruned. As a result of that meeting, a revised plan was proposed to reflect that discussion. And that plan has been submitted to the commission and should be before you. We also submitted another minor bit of supplemental information. Commissioner Harlow Hawks had asked for a copy or for written confirmation. You might recall that one of the pieces of information that we provided to the commission was that we had consulted with Teresa Sprague of Blue Flax Design to make sure that what was being proposed in this NOI did not conflict with or have any adverse impact on the very successful and ongoing restoration plan that Blue Flax is engaged in. And Teresa had confirmed that to me verbally, and Commissioner Harlow Hawks had asked that that be provided in writing. And we did provide an email that's dated Monday, May 6th from Teresa. And she went into quite a bit of detail, but the key substance of her email is that she believes that this proposal will not adversely affect the ongoing restoration plan and will not affect the stability or the integrity of the bank. There was a request by the chairman with regard to the contractor that if this matter were to be approved, there has to be close management by the commission and by staff of the contractor doing the work. We represented to the commission at the last hearing that the work would be done directly and personally by Paul Sellers or under his direct and personal supervision. And I proposed a condition in writing with that cover letter that I submitted with some language that I suggest the commission consider and adopt, and we're perfectly willing to talk about modifying that. Finally, I would simply like to say one thing about the staff. I appreciate the tremendous amount of work that both Alyssa and Jen has done, and Fallon as well. And I appreciate their cooperation coming out to the site and going over all of the detail that we did go over. And finally, before I turn it over to Mr. Sellers for some brief further information, what we'd like to talk about tonight briefly is that although the parties have come to agreement on many issues, there's still a bit of a difference. And my clients have to live with whatever the result of this is. And so they've asked for us to ask the commission to consider some of the proposed pruning and cutting that the staff did not support. And so Mr. Sellers has a brief presentation to show you areas that the staff did not agree with and did not support, but that the applicant would like the commission to consider and hopefully approve. And finally, before I turn it over to Mr. Sellers, I just would kind of like to share with the commission my view of what we're kind of talking about here. So clearly there's agreement that under your regulations, the zone A is supposed to be a no disturb, naturally vegetated area. And this zone A is that way, but what I would suggest to the commission is that there's discretion on your part to decide exactly what that vegetation is comprised of. This proposal will result in a fully vegetated buffer. We're just kind of disagreeing about trees and shrubs. And again, it's very clear that part of what is behind this are the views. And basically what we're saying here is that this property, and I know all of you are familiar with it, used to be the Cape Codder Hotel, and now it's the Cape Codder Condominium. So there are long established historical views of this property. And the commission has actually recognized that, because you might recall in 2004, there was an enforcement matter, and the result of that was a restoration plan that required planting of 8 trees. And you might recall that when we presented the plan the first time back in March, those 8 trees have now multiplied to more than 115 trees. And so what we're trying to do here is come up with a management plan that provides a naturally vegetated buffer that's consistent with coastal conditions, but which also kind of balances these historical view interests so that both parties can walk away with something that works environmentally and for the property owners. And with that being said, I'm going to get out of my chair in a very non-technical way, and I'm going to let Paul sit in my chair, and we do have a presentation to share. So do you want to do that first? Okay.
Good evening. I was waiting for the music to start and stop to switch chairs. Paul Sellers, I'm the certified arborist representing Cape Codder condominiums. And I have the plan that I can share that you should also have copies of as well, if you don't mind me sharing the screen here.
Thank you.
To it. Right.
Let's
share.
Sprague's email.
Yeah, well, it's the screen, so go ahead. There you go. And then you can just click on the plan. Excuse us 1 minute, Mr. Chairman, we're going to get these technical issues. There's the point. Sure. Can you see the plan, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Good. Okay. Excellent.
Yep.
But the I'm sorry,
The management plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. Behind stupid. Oh,
Okay, we see the plan.
okay. I'm trying to get something else, Mr. Chairman. Hold on with this 1 second.
Apologize. Is it that PDF right there?
Okay. Do you see a statement that says vegetative management plan?
No.
No.
Oh. Resume share. Oh, right. Oh. Oh,
You have the vegetative management plan on.
Yeah, it's a graphic though. It's not that. That's not what we want to share. Why is this not working? There we go. Here, keep kind of vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it not sharing? I apologize for this, Mr. Chairman. We're going to try to go about it a different way. Let me just go to the file and get it. Share. Jen, would it be possible for you to put it up for us? I hate to impose upon you, but for some reason, I'm clicking on it, but it's not going onto the screen.
Yes, I can. It's just gonna take me 1 second because I now try to
Wait,
stop
is it- there we
sharing.
go. Is it up now?
No, try to stop sharing, Brian, and try it again.
Okay. All right, because we're seeing it, so I don't know why this is not working.
Okay, try doing it again, and if you can't get it up, then I will. There we go.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Great.
I apologize for that.
No
So-
worries.
All right. So we did provide you with this presentation as well. And we just wanted to ask you for some additional consideration on some of the trees that are really impeding that historic views that we're trying to maintain within that buffer area. So the first slide shows the 4 additional cherry trees, number 2, 3, 4, and 5 that we had proposed taking down to the stump level and allowing to resprout and grow, and that would give us the ability to maintain the root structure within that buffer zone, but allow those trees to regenerate, and we would maintain those over the course of a number of years by thinning out the suckers that would regenerate over time and keep the height of those cherry trees down to more of a 8 to 12 foot height range. That would allow the views to continue to take place, but we'd still be able to retain the cherry trees. The next consideration were for the removal of tree number 7 and 8, and those are the 2 cedar trees tucked in right behind 6 and 9. We'd be shaping the 6 and 9 canopies to give them more of a conical shape. You can see with 7 and 8 removed, it would create that corridor in that area, but keep a more naturalized presence of the other cedar trees in the area. Our next slide was for consideration to prune and reduce trees number 35, 36, and 37, all are cedar trees, and these again would just be reducing some of these extending limbs and keeping the natural shape of the tree. This would allow again them to contribute to that view corridor for some of the 17 units that are impacted. We're also looking at removing tree number 33. This is a tree is a little bit thin and starting to decline especially when you compare it to the tree that's next to it. But when you combine that with the pruning that I've just proposed to you on trees number 35, 36, and 37, it develops that, again, that view corridor that multiple units are going to benefit from. Number 38 is an oak tree, and it's an old stump sucker that was regenerated from a number of years ago. This is right on the top of the coastal bank, and I believe you can actually see the stake there right next to the 38. But this tree, we would just like, again, to prune that and shape it down a little bit. We would drop some of the stems, again, using a kind of lateral or natural pruning method. We wouldn't just simply top it off, but just reduce it by pruning these back to some structural branches. Again, this in combination with the trees number 33, 35, 36, and 37 would enhance that view corridor for that area, and it would benefit, again, multiple unit owners. So we were trying to be very tactical about and precise, somewhat prescriptive of what we're trying to prune and to create these alleyways of views. Tree number 42 is a removal that we would like to propose. The tree is a little bit overcrowded next to the other ones. Again, it would open and establish a more defined view. We'd also ask that we prune and reduce tree number 91, this little oak tree that's stuck behind these other 2 cedar trees that we feel would benefit in getting us some portions of the view back. And then tree number 64 is again consideration for pruning and reducing. This would help us establish again that corridor view that we're trying to produce with trees number 35, 36, and 37. Tree number 24, another cedar tree. This is a bit one-sided on the back side. It's pretty desiccated, but it will allow some additional light for the bayberries that are down below. And again, this opens up a clear view corridor for a number of the units. And I just wanted to give you an example of one of the stump sucker sprouts. This is a tree number 124. And this was a removal that had taken place several years back. But you can see the regeneration of growth that's been taking place. This is a much smaller diameter cherry tree than the first ones that I've showed you in the presentation. But you can see that there'd be a vigorous response from that stump suckering. So we're very, very confident that we'd be able to retain those cherry trees in a form that would benefit the views, but also keep the integrity of the bank. And that is what I had for you. I'll stop sharing my screen unless you have some specific questions on trees.
Thanks, Paul. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So first off, like Brian said, we did go out there and we were able to view, I'd say probably every tree that is above the top of the bank. Oh, I want to go back for 1 minute. And I'd like to remind the board that this is not a man-made berm. It is a natural coastal bank. The berm wasn't created. The grade on the other side was dropped. That was clearly identified and evaluated by our engineering staff, and that's just the truth. This was not a man-made created berm. Sorry about that, Brian. But we did go out there. We had a great site visit. Like I said, Brian said there were all 6 of us on site: Brian, Tom, Paul, myself, Fallon, and Alyssa. We evaluated every tree. And I think we really did try to meet in the middle. And I think we accomplished like very close to that. But the staff still is having some concerns with the trees that Paul just presented. So we have a great plan. We highlighted the trees in yellow that we are kind of in disagreement with, and I wish I had scanned that for the board, so I apologize, because it is kind of a great visual. But if you follow the plan and we go back to Paul's presentation on the vegetation management, I'll start with the cherry trees. We just can't support flush cutting cherry trees and managing them as large shrubs. We do agree that some cherries further to, I believe it's, I gotta get my bearings there, further to the east, it's appropriate to do that because of the surrounding vegetation. But in this case, these are the only trees in this vicinity. The only trees. So we really do have some concerns about managing a tree as a large shrub. It's just not best management practices. With 7, with the page, I guess 3, with the removal of the cedars, I believe in the field we had talked about pruning those into a conical shape would kind of, narrow them and open up view pockets, and not just this, taking out and then you have this clear view. It would open up some view pockets, but still preserve those trees. So that would be 7 and 8. The page 4, Paul's presentation, I think I'm on page 4, where we're looking at pruning and reducing the cedars 35, 36, and 37. Those are basically like right at the top of the coastal bank, and we don't believe anything right at that top of the coastal bank or below the top of the coastal bank should be pruned at all. These are creating a really good windbreak. They're taking the brunt of that wind, and reducing them is just going to let more damaging wind into that site. And we just feel that they should just be left alone. They're not really doing anything. Number 33, again, we talked about in the field about pruning that one. So the trees in Paul's presentation, you know, were these trees were discussed in the field, and we just we felt more comfortable with either pruning them or leaving them alone, whereas they're now requesting either removal or pruning. And again, when we first heard this, when we first heard the presentation was kind of presented more of a management plan to manage the trees. And now we're clearly hearing that this is strictly for views. And not that, you know, we don't allow views, but I just think in this case, the tree removal, it's just, it's hard for the staff to support. 38, the oak is quite healthy. It's fine. It's on that bank, and it should not be, staff cannot support its removal. Removing the 42 cedar, there are a number of smaller sapling cedars around that one that we agreed to allow to be removed. I'm looking at that one now, and there's 2 smaller cedars that we, saplings that we will allow to be removed, as well as pruning the larger cedar. So I don't feel it's necessary to remove 42 because the picture is kind of misleading, because there are trees in there that are going to be removed, and that bigger one is going to be pruned up. So I don't feel it's necessary to remove that particular tree. I'm going through this. I can just keep going through. 24 is a cedar right on the top of that bank. It's really, there's no trees competing it. What we tried to evaluate in the field was, were the trees growing into each other? Was there going to be a time where the smaller trees were going to grow up into the larger trees? So we really did thoughtfully discuss each tree out there. And I don't remember anything about 124, the sucker cherry. So Alyssa, if you remember that one, I'll leave that one to you. But again, you know, we went out there, we evaluated each of the trees. We, from a staff perspective, modified some of our comments to allow for the pruning, the removal, even the managing of a few of those cherries as larger shrubs, just because of the surrounding vegetation. But for these, I think there's about 10 or 12 to 15 trees that, when we received the revised plan, kind of did not match our field notes. That's what we highlighted in the staff report. So those are my comments.
All right.
Just
Ms.
to
Byrd.
reiterate, it was a positive experience out in the field.
Good.
I don't really think there's anything I can add at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. So with what Paul's proposing is basically they're looking to create multiple vista corridors. Is that fair to say that?
That
Okay.
seems to be the goal.
Okay. All right. Commissioner comments. Betsy.
How did it get around to me so quickly? If you've been listening, you know what I think about trees, so I'm not going to make any comments. I just thank the staff and I thank the applicants for working on this. That's all.
Okay. Courtney.
It's an unfortunate situation, and I think you guys are trying to work the situation through. There's a certain irony in this, however, and because I'm 84 and lived in this area since 72, I've seen a lot. Ironically, the old Cape Codder Hotel, the area that you guys are anguishing over right now, was maintained as lawn from the time the Cape Codder was built until it was torn down in 1987. Ironically, had the intercontinental developers who bought that property maintained that area as lawn, you guys wouldn't be in front of us today. However, having said that, and I'm not trying to open a door for you to go into some hoping and so forth, because I'm not trying to lead you down a path that you aren't, but it's an ironic thing. And there's nothing that you can do about it other than I'm telling you some history. Because in fact, there's adequate, even though there is a sort of right to maintain, if you allow that to lapse, you lose that right. And this commission has already, in numerous cases, in the recent times, made rulings on that very simple issue, that people who had maintained a certain area and then allowed it to go to not to maintain it for a few years, lose that right to maintain. So sadly, that's you guys got boxed in through no fault of your own. I think you're trying to work through a problem. It's clear you want vistas, and you need to maintain them. So I hopefully you guys can come up with something, and it sounds like you are, that would be workable to this commission as well as to the residents there. No other comments.
All right. All right. This is kind of a complex project. I commend everybody for working so diligently on it. I mean, there's a lot of detail here. Maury.
So
there you go.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I was reading Teresa's, which I was glad to get that. Thank you, Brian.
Certainly.
And it has been a very successful invasive species management project and restoration project that's been going on for quite a while. And there's been a lot of plants there that are quite tenacious and have been a great effort for the condominium owners to keep endeavoring to control all those. The one comment she did make, and I did see that the Massachusetts has put the Japanese black pine on an invasive species list. When you're out on that site, you don't see a whole lot of little baby ones anywhere. So I know they are invasive, they're considered an invasive, but they're certainly not up there with Asiatic bittersweet or swallowwort or Russian olive. So as much as I know that they are on the invasive species list, well, they will be on in 2025. I don't think it would be prudent to make any attempts to remove them at this time. I think they're kind of the tough soldiers on that hill. They've been holding that bank and doing a great job, and their root systems are so different than an oak. So that being said, this has been an arduous project on both sides of the fence for staff, all of us and all of you. And I think you've come a long way. I don't think you will all come out exactly what we want, but I will agree with staff. The only one that, I don't want to see cherries turned into shrubs. I do believe that pruning keeps them healthy. I think it creates better root growth by taking good care of them. And that's all of my comments. Thank you.
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat right now, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Bunker, we haven't heard from you. Would you like to throw anything in there? Don't want to ignore you.
Well, I've been here watching and listening. I mean, my role was mainly doing the survey and drawing up the color-coded chart, and think about these things, sometimes after the fact, where I could have helped perhaps Paul put together for this presentation, show where these are, the trees that we want to change, where they are on the plan. I could have show how it's very narrow areas that are being done, and not, certainly there are no wide vista corridors or pruning being done. It's just a few trees here and there, but some toward the front and some toward the back, which open up some narrow view spots, and actually nothing all the way, because nothing is being cut, on the steep part of the bank anyway. So it's not, it's not a plan to recreate many vista corridors, but through some pruning and shaping, and possibly cut down a few to make some small openings where some of the people in the condos can get a little bit of a glimpse of the water more than what they have.
All right. Mr. Wall, Mr. Sellers, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just rather briefly, can I share my screen once more?
Yes.
Let's hope I can do it correctly. I just want to refresh everyone's memory. Are you looking at a photograph of the trees?
Yes.
View from balcony of 28.
Yeah, great, thank you. So this is what it looks like today. And I want to pick up on a couple of comments that Courtney made with regard to the irony of this matter. So in a way, I fully understand his point that by delaying coming back to the commission, this vista area has been compromised by these trees. But I'm hoping, and I perceive the comments, that there can be some balance here. And again, to kind of not be over profuse with this, but we appreciate the staff's work. We had some very constructive conversations about what could be done and what couldn't be done, but there still seems to be a little bit of an area of disagreement. And part of why I want to show this photo is what some of my clients are looking at, and I think everyone can understand what they're trying to achieve. And our rationale for this, we have several of them. One is, to Courtney's point, about 2004. So there was a restoration matter back then, and the vegetative buffer that was approved by the commission included shrubs and a total of 8 trees. And now 20 years later, there are 116 plus trees. And so I think that there's some room to maneuver here. And I also think, and I appreciate staff's position on a tree by tree basis, but I think the goal is to have a naturally vegetated buffer that's consistent with a coastal area. And there's wiggle room here. I think that you can see that the applicant is proposing something that is reasonable. And I don't think staff disagrees with that. I think just on a tree by tree basis, there's some disagreements. But overall, it's a good project that's going to result in a naturally vegetated buffer, just with a few less trees. And I would respectfully suggest that it's going to be a healthy and qualitative buffer that helps restore a bit of the historical views. The last couple of points I want to make are the following. I think that the commission can feel comfortable granting at least some of the extra relief that the applicant is asking, because this is a very unique situation. I think that the commission can do this based upon the fact that there have been these long-standing historical views, and that this is not going to be used against the commission for saying, oh, this is what you let happen at the Cape Codder. Well, it's very different for the reasons that Courtney said. It used to be lawn. And finally, I do agree with what Tom said too, that we are not asking for corridors. I think one of the problems with the regulations is that they do allow vista pruning corridors for single family residences, but there's not a similar provision for condominiums. And I think what we tried to do was come up with a management plan. And there was a very deliberate decision on this. We didn't come in with multiple view corridors. We came in with an overall management plan that was good for the unit owners and good for the regulations. And we would hope that the commission would consider some of the extra requests for relief that are being asked for. And I'll end with, Paul might want to talk about what Maury said about the Japanese pines, because we're not actually seeking to remove those.
No.
We agree with Maury's comments. But I would like to have some guidance from the commission as to where we go. Is the commission prepared to vote on the extra requests that are being put forth by Paul Sellers and the applicant? Or is there some other middle road? And I'm looking for some guidance on what the commission would like to go, which direction the commission would like to go next. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. Jen.
Mr. Chairman, what we can do is we can scan the plan that we have that highlights all the trees that we are, for lack of a better term, in disagreement with. And that will give the board a visual instead of taking, you know, the narrative, Paul's narrative, and trying to highlight it yourself. We'd be happy to scan the plan that we have highlighted, and then you can see kind of what Tom is talking about, like what Tom was trying to say, or illustrate with his words, that where these trees are located on the landscape. I mean, the staff's position is not going to change, but it might give the board a better visual. I don't know. I can throw that out there. I wish I had done that, and I'm kicking myself now that I'm thinking about it. I should have done that, because it would have been a lot easier to follow, I think, if that had been done.
And if I could just interject on that point, we thought about how to do this best. And so the plan is agreed upon, except for the extent of the trees shown in Paul's presentation. And so Jen's looking at it the other way around, of showing the areas of disagreement. So we're not trying to pull anything over on the commission. We're trying to show we've reached agreement in a large extent, but there's still a little bit more. And I just kind of keep restating the fact that it's the unit owners that live in these units that pay the property taxes and look at the 115 trees, and that's the relief that we're seeking. And we do again appreciate the commission's considered review of this.
Betsy.
So I want to make a couple of comments. Following on Courtney's comment about history, we're not 50 years or 70 years ago, or we're not 100 years ago where the Cape has no trees. We have a forested Cape, and now we have a town that's being built up. We go everywhere in town, and there are developments everywhere in town, and all these developments are clear-cutting forests in town. So these forests play a really important role. And Brian, you probably shouldn't have shown that picture, because I look at that picture and I think that's a beautiful view. I wouldn't mind having a view like that from my porch. However, having said that, I would appreciate having Jen do what she said, present a plan for us showing the specific areas where Paul has suggested these changes. and let us regroup again. I mean, my inclination is to support the staff's recommendation at this point, but I'm willing to look again at Paul's suggestions and where they would affect the entirety of the vegetated buffer. So that's where I am, Jamie.
Okay. So, okay. So we need to consider a continuance for this purpose, correct?
I would think so.
Yes.
Yes.
So that a continuance request on the applicant's part or on the commission's part?
Well, it would have to come from the applicant, Mr. Chairman.
And you have it, Mr. Chairman. We want to continue to work with the commission, and we are asking for a continuance for that purpose.
Okay.
I don't have, unfortunately, the spreadsheet in front of me. Alyssa, how busy are we on the 5th?
In terms of notices, we currently have 3 continued. 1 has been withdrawn, and I think we just continued 2 more. So we have 4 continued notices on the 5th.
Do we have any new ones in for that date yet?
So far, we have 4, and I believe that only just opened today, so it will be full.
Okay. How about the 12th? What are we looking at the 12th?
Empty.
Brian, is your project team available on June 12th?
Tom, are you available? Yes.
How many of us are on the quorum?
Only 4.
Yeah.
So it's only
Betsy's not going to be here.
Oh, Betsy's away.
There's only 4 of us.
okay. The 19th, I believe, is a federal holiday now. So
It is.
I'm away then also,
okay.
but I'm back the 22nd.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Betsy?
I'm back on the 22nd.
So are you having a hearing on the 26th?
We are having a hearing on the 26th, Brian.
Okay. How does that one look?
Right now, fine.
Oh,
Yeah, that should be fine.
Tom, are you in town? Okay.
Tom's on mute. Okay, I like that.
The
That
applicant
works.
requests a continuance to the 26th of June.
All right. Thank you for that.
And I think this way it'll just give the board kind of a visual. I think, Brian, you said I'm looking at it kind of opposite the way you are. We just highlight like where the differences were on the plan. It wasn't in any sort of calculated way. We were just trying to get a visual from ourselves on this very, detailed plan, just a visual for us, where on the plan, like our field notes didn't match what the revised plan was. And I mean, I think it's easier to look at, but I'm a visual person, so it might be helpful. And Brian, we'll send you a copy as well.
Yeah, we'll be in communication about this, and we will also give some further thought on how to present this visually.
Okay.
I did give thought to that for this occasion because I foresaw this kind of issue. I thought we did it kind of the most easy to understand way, but we'll give it another shot.
I think once we have the plan with the highlights, and then the board can take Paul's pictures and kind of look at it that way, that might be helpful. If we combine this with the plan that we highlighted, where the little differences are on the plan, that might be easy. But if you want to present something else as well, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, thank you.
Be careful of submitting so much that it gets just more confusing.
Right, we don't want to have competing plans like that, but I think we can staff and we can coordinate on a plan that would show the same information.
Yeah, I mean, all our plan is just highlighted. The little circles are highlighted. That's all we did.
All right, we have a request from the applicant to continue this until June 26th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 6:26. Anything else?
Yeah, just
Courtney?
one quick comment. I want to follow up on what Betsy says. The fact was, yes, that area was maintained as lawn for probably 70 years. But in the 4, 5, 6 years that it was not, it became reforested and regrown in a natural buffer very quick. So we need to bear that in mind.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to continue this until 6:26. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury?
Carla Hawk's eye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 26th. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
Tom.
everyone.
Thank you.
We'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is a request to amend an existing order of conditions. First up, Daniel and Nancy Trodden, 20 Cove Street, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4653 to permit additional parking areas, stepping stones, and the associated mitigation. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted David Deasley up from Cape Land Design LLC to present this amended request. Hello, Mr. Deasley.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dave Desley, Cape Land Design, representing Dan and Nancy Trodden from 20 Cove Street. My first time here, so thanks for having me. So this project is kind of in two parts. The initial plan that I submitted was they had some miscalculated items on there, which I'll share right now on the screen. So this here was the initial plan that I submitted with a numerous amount of mitigation where my cursor is right now. The reason for the mitigation in this project here is the addition of this parking area right here, these 5 cars. It's a shell parking area with cobblestone border, along with stepping stones to the back porch. So with that, I had subtracted the existing asphalt parking area that was in place from the wrong area. So I'll show you this right now. This is the change that was made based on the staff report, which caught the miscalculated items. So in total, what we're adding here for additional impervious area is approximately 244 square feet of additional impervious area. And with that, the 3-factor gives us approximately 732 square feet of necessary mitigation, which we put here along the border, inside of the straw wattle that's placed. And we're actually proposing 796 square feet of mitigation versus the 732 square feet.
Good.
Are there any questions on that?
Well, you can stop sharing.
Sure.
Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no questions or comments. Cape Land Design revised the plan in accordance with our staff report, so we're fine.
Okay. Melissa?
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Betsy?
No comments.
Courtney?
No comments.
With me?
Me? No
I
comment.
couldn't hear.
Questions or comments? Kevin?
Who could? Couldn't hear
No
you,
comment.
Jamie.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Kevin?
no comments.
Okay. Maury?
No comments. Thank you.
Ron?
No comments, thank you.
All right. Steve?
No comments.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this this project. This project, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Justin can come back and visit us again too. That's
mean
a nice
David?
short presentation.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Dave, I meant you. Justin's with us every week. You can come back again.
All right. Thank you. I'll be back on the next segment here. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, next up, request to extend an existing order of conditions. Daniel and Nancy Trodden, 20 Cove Street, Falmouth, Mass, DEP number 25-4653. Request a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we recommend a 1-year extension for the project.
Bird so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to grant a 1-year extension. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the 1-year extension. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next request for extension is New Silver Beach Associates, Inc., 0 Moses Road. Parcel and lot number is 000-93A. I think it means through 93E. And 96, 97, 98 North Falmouth, Mass, which is a DEP number 25-4555, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, first off, thank you, David. Good night. And second off, Mr. Chairman, I recommend a 1-year extension for New Silver Beach. This is for beach raking. So I'm just gonna move him back. This is for beach raking. They were issued a 1-year extension before last summer, but they were unable to find anybody to do the work. I would suggest a 1-year extension only. We did have some issues with notification from this association and where they were cleaning the seaweed and then putting it on town property. So that needs to be remedied. So last year, I believe I recommended a 1-year extension to see if they would follow the order of conditions. Again, they were unable to find anybody to rake the beach. I did meet with, I think, one person last year, but they didn't end up doing the job. And so they're currently seeking somewhere else. And they do understand that that person will need to meet with the staff. They will need to notify us when they're out there, and they will need to clean up the seaweed on the town's property.
So bottom line is you're recommending a 1-year extension
I am.
at this point.
I am. At this point, I am.
Okay.
Bird so move with the conditions outlined by Jen.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table to issue a 1-year extension. Questions or comments? We're voting on the extension. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Thank you. Next up, a vote orders of conditions. And for the record, Kevin, you're not on any of these quorums.
Thank you,
So
thank
if
you,
you
thank
would
you.
like, you can be dismissed.
Thank you.
All right. Again, we're voting on orders of conditions. First up, Daniel and Lori Maxwell, 350 Mill Road, Falmouth, Mass. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you give me 1 second, I just need to grab that packet. It's in here. I'm not as organized in this new house yet as I was in my old house.
Seems the same.
Except you guys are gonna have a really big TV up there.
I thought he meant that this organization was the same.
Oh, that could be it too. Absolutely. What's this project? Oh, this is the V-Zone house. Okay, so we had them removing the breakaway. This is the house that's going up on pilings. They wanted to enclose the shower and the bicycle space and enclose the garage area with breakaway panels. We said no to the garage area. Where did we land on the bicycle storage and the outdoor shower? I think they said that was 200, 250, 260 square feet.
I have 170.
So 170 for that enclosed outdoor shower area. Which usually we have them do with sailcloth, and I think we talked about that, but then allowing them the little bit of storage area, and I'm fine with the storage area.
Right. My understanding is that the storage would be closed up, but the rent station would be sailcloth.
Yep.
Maury, you had your hand up?
Yep, you said it, Jamie. That's what I had.
Okay.
And then remove the breakaways from the garage, the carport area.
Right, but we're allowing the enclosure around the stairway.
Stairway.
Yeah.
Around the stairway and the bicycle storage.
So I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
We're going to ask for revised architecturals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to make sure that the breakaway panels aren't on it.
Yep.
All right, anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. We're voting for the order of conditions. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury.
Hollow Hawks eye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. With this quorum, we have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Michael and Jennifer Trespass, 34 Sweet Road, Falmouth, Mass.
That is that revetment work.
Right.
That very tricky revetment work.
Yeah.
Very shallow in there. The only way I can see them doing it is bringing a barge in, spudding it down, dropping a ramp, and getting that machine on a beach, and only doing it in like low tide or an hour or two before and after. They're not going to have a very big window to work in. So some of the notes I have written down is obviously we're going to need a pre-construction. No machines on the beach overnight. They're definitely going to have to put a machine on to dig those toe stones in, but then the everything else should be done by like a crane. I have biofuel.
Vegetable oil.
Yep. Bring stones during high tide. So I'm assuming that whatever supplemental stones they need to do, if they're bringing them in by barge, they should do it at a high tide. No equipment overnight, machine on barge. Yeah, no equipment on the beach overnight. toe stone installation at low tide, 2 hours either side of low tide.
Yep.
No
Those
clearing. Okay. Courtney?
Do we have any preference about when in the monthly tide cycle we want them to do this work? Because there is a period where the tides are very low. It's a routine. Would that make sense to specify that that's when they schedule the work, or does it make any difference?
I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference.
He said it was going to take weeks.
It's going to take weeks, and this is Sweet Road, so you're looking at a large
Oh, I know Sweet Road.
Sweet Road. So you're over in like North Falmouth area, West Falmouth.
No, I know.
There's Sweet Road.
Yeah,
it's off
that's
of
where
Wild
it is.
Harbor.
Fiddler's
Off
Cove.
Wild Harbor.
Yeah, so you're looking at like a 4-foot tidal range over there. It's not
Okay.
going to I don't think it's going to matter, Courtney. It's going to
Okay.
take a couple of weeks. I think specifying it on either side of low tide, and it really is going to depend on the contractor.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of them around here that do this type of work, so.
Which is good and bad. But you'll have a condition in there for pre-construction, so
Yeah,
you'll
it
be
was
able
my
to go
very- yeah.
over it with whomever's selected.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other questions or comments? We're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Owl Hawk's Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
That night.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Thomas Esselman, Second Hills Association, Inc., 200 Second Road adjacent to 24 and 28 Saltworks Way, and Wigwam Road adjacent to number 10, 15, and 34 Wigwam Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is the much needed drainage improvements over in the Saconaset area. All I have is to submit the drainage calculations, so we had them in the plan. Had them in the file, and to submit their operation and maintenance plan. And I really do think they are going to need to add additional structures up along Saconaset Road, and I believe they are exploring that right now.
Okay.
We've seen a preliminary design exploring additional drainage structures just outside our jurisdiction to try to capture some of that road, especially shooting down Saconaset. I just think there's going to be way too much water. From the amount of water that we've personally witnessed out there, it's going to be tough. So I think they're looking at installing additional drainage structures just outside our jurisdiction.
That's why you need drainage calcs.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure what they're putting in couldn't possibly capture all that's going to come further up the hill.
No, and I think they realize that. And I think, again, we've seen a preliminary design. I just believe it has to go through the association. They have to find funding for it and everything. So, but I think we've got to do something out there. There really is a drainage issue out there. So I think this is, a good step and a first step into solving their drainage problems out there.
Courtney?
Yeah, I realize that additional drainage structures are outside of our jurisdiction, but the consequences of having inadequate drainage structures is within our jurisdiction.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think we need to see a comprehensive plan that covers all of this, inside and outside.
Well, Courtney, I think we need to permit what they have, and then we'll work with them on the additional drainage structures, okay? We can put in the order that we feel additional drainage structures are going to be needed. I think I should do that. Because I really do feel strongly that they are going to be needed out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you could make it even stronger, I would be happier, but you got to do what you have to do.
Okay, I will craft some very strong language.
And so I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Arlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up is to vote amended order of conditions. John and Judith Ramondi, 25 Beckles Road, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is to create additional parking along the road. And I just lost my pen. It's on the floor. And they wanted to remove, I think it was two cedars, correct, Alyssa? Was it cedars? They wanted to remove two cedars. We feel the cedars should remain. There's hardly any trees really on the lot. All the mitigation is being cut. So we are suggesting that parking area be shifted down to save those trees.
No, and they
And I think
agreed
they
with that.
agreed to that.
Yeah, you just need a new plan.
Yep.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions as extensively discussed.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other questions or comments?
No.
We're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Maury,
Arlo Hawk's eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have issued an order of conditions. And just a reminder to Jen and Courtney, I won't be here next week.
Okay. So I am on for next week, right?
You are the man. Now's
Okay,
your
well,
opportunity.
I'm gonna have to go back and rehearse, check my notes and rehearse a few times before the meeting.
Thanks, Jamie. Court.
Oh,
See you
yeah.
in a meeting.
It'll be fun.
It'll just
I'll watch it after just for entertainment purposes. All right.
Courtney, you will come in and rehearse. You come in before next week.
No. I've done this drill before.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Arlo Hawk's
Second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Arlo Hawk's eye.
Driscoll, aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.